is your discipline going to work if you keep on or doing the same thing? And I started talking to her and I said, I'm going to put you on timeout because this, and this. And you don't talk back to anybody like this. I know you have your differences. I know you have your opinion. I value your opinion.
You got to be able to talk to your kids, and explain to them and give them the reasoning on why you want things done a certain way.
Stuff like that. He was always busy. And being a servant, like you said, in your case too, it's volunteering your time most of the time. It's just saying, hey, I see something greater, so I don't need to be compensated. My compensation is the amount of joy that I get from seeing this group of girls that you coaching. I mean, that's something amazing. Like I love that. And at some point you keep still being a coach. I'm just going to say my girls right there. You have two, a pair of twins that can actually just run the ball. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And that's the fun part, is you said it, seeing the joy on their faces, them learning something, and at the same time volunteering, you have an opportunity to maybe step into a role that maybe they don't have.
Right.
Maybe they don't have a father figure, or, maybe their parent works a lot, and it all comes together, just like the phrase, it takes a village, right?
Right.
And it's not always just the family that's in your village, it's people outside of it that, can pour into your kids. And I think that's the biggest thing for us, me and my wife, is, we're new parents. We have a lot of, I have a lot of family.
Oh my gosh.
And
like,
it's,
I could put a picture of how many people showed up for the baby day.
Yeah, show them that, because we were nervous that the stage might,
it's like literally half of the church was your family.
Absolutely. And they came, and, they show up, and that's awesome. We love that.
Yeah.
And that's going to be one aspect of the village. And I think the other aspect as she grows is going to be her teachers, and making sure as a dad that those people are being put in her life specifically and for a reason,
Right.
Like all of her coaches, we want to make sure that they're good people.
And also, that's what I was saying. Like they actually fit the structure.
Right.
And I want to talk about that. I think I spoke with you about this, discipline in the structure.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, before we continue with this, put your mic a little bit closer. There we go, like that. I talked about this with you before, in when we actually just go to church and stuff like that, between the difference between structure and discipline. We see a lot of kids, we see a lot of people, we see a lot of grown-ups that actually grew up with discipline. And a lot of things, discipline for these people is a trigger. Oh, my dad disciplined me by spanking me.
Right.
My dad disciplined me by beating me up. My mom disciplined me by throwing la chancla. In my culture, like the Hispanic culture, my mom, she used to have sandals that like throw it like to us because she was frustrated at some point. Now, we always talk about the differences between the different eras, the different the differences in time, like baby boomers, they were raised by the silent generation, and they're called silent generation for a reason. They just kept it quiet.
Mm-hmm.
They never actually complained because, hey, you got to suck it up. Baby boomers are like almost the same, but they just kind of like, well, I'm going to give my kids more grace. And then Gen X, and then the millennials, our era, it's just technically, we started thinking about mental health.
Right.
And I was like, wait, how am I going to get all this stuff? We don't have to beat my kid in order for me to make a point with them, right? And in Gen Zs and alphas. Now, our kids are alphas in this era. So what is your take in that sense about between discipline? I know what it is, but I can give you this, throw it to you, because our audience needs to know that you don't have to beat up a kid in order for you to make a point. And then if you don't actually give the structure before the discipline, it's not going to work.
Right.
It's not going to work. What do you think of that?
No, and I think, we'll bring it back, because you were talking about eras. So we'll, for our visual learners, think about, let's just talk about, I'm a basketball coach. So think about the 80s and the 90s, right? Basketball, you can get away with a lot more, right? Flagrant fouls, it's that would be called today, wasn't called then. They're a lot more physical compared to what it is now. Right? But I think at the same time with it, there's a different structure on how the game is played.
Right.
And I think that's where children, being a dad, I know that, with me, was I spanked? Absolutely. I was born in the 80s, that's what we were used to doing.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Absolutely. And sometimes it was like, you know what?
Smack you.
And you talked about, their shoes being tossed. I mean, in the Filipino culture, they call it chanelas. It's, that's their slipper. It's being tossed. And
the toss of chancla and chanela.
Yeah. And kind of in a way, it's either you get out of the way or you get hit. You know what I'm saying? So it helps with reflexes as well. So, but I really believe, yes, children need structure, right? They need to be told what they can't do, what is going to be, I guess you can say, what's the better. And then what's the
I would
best.
just say maybe what's the difference between like discipline versus structure? Because we can see actually the words, if you can go into the dictionary, they mean something different. But what I've learned, I think in my case, is the structure comes before the discipline. Because most of the time as parents, we go like, okay, you're in timeout. Okay, are you giving the structure of why she's going into a timeout? Right. In my case, my girls, right? No. Okay. So is your discipline going to work if you keep on going or doing the same thing before the structure? If the structure for me is, I'm going to sit you down and like, you know what you're getting in trouble for. And I noticed that with my Isabel, right? She talks back now. Mm-hmm. And I had to sit down and it was like, okay, structure right now, go. And I started talking to her and I said, I'm going to put you on a timeout because this, and this. And you don't talk back to anybody like this. I know you have your differences. I know you have your opinion. I value your opinion. But in this case, you are wrong because of this, and this. You talk loud and you start explaining stuff like that. And then you can see her face like melting down and just saying, okay, I'm going to go in timeout. And she takes the discipline. Yeah. And she's got, I'll just put a timer. I'll say, hey, Siri, put a timer for 2 minutes. I'm not going to say it because she's right there. That's how it is for me, right? I'm like, I'm not going to discipline you until you get the structure. And it's hard because sometimes you forget. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, no, I believe that, yes, you're right. I believe the structure has to come before the discipline. You got to be able to talk to your kids, and explain to them and give them the reasoning on why you want things done a certain way. And when it's not done that way, they need to know why maybe they're getting in trouble or why it didn't work out. And I believe, discipline is a part of being a parent. You have to discipline your child. And that's going to, keep them in order. But at the same time, it's going to teach them life lessons at an early age about consequences. I believe right now, maybe in our culture a little bit, there's not a lot of consequences, for the teenagers or young adults sometimes. And I believe it starts at a young age to understand, what, I'm being told to do it this way. Yes, I can put my little flair on it, my little twist on it, because, we want that personality to come out. But at the same time with it, if it doesn't work because you didn't follow the rules, then there's a consequence that needs to happen. And I believe that consequences builds character.
Yeah.
Consequences builds character, good. And it, and it allows them to, and maybe not at Isabel's age right now, but a self-reflection of somebody that's older on like, you know what? I'm a teenager. I got grounded. I got all my electronics taken away. And what do I got to do now? They don't know what to do because they're so used to electronics. Yep. Maybe read a book or maybe talk, talk to a sibling, maybe talk to your parents, I think they're missing that a little bit because the discipline's not there. The discipline from whether it's from their parents or just discipline from a grandparent, maybe it's not there, who's in their household. So I do believe explanation goes a long way with them understanding it, so they're not making the same mistake over and over
again. Yeah, and
right.
And